But I know you've talked significantly about the different data sources that are available right now, especially for the use of smart tourism and sustainable tourism. And there's a wider range of data sources out there. We've talked in the past, thanks to the invite from Dirk, about how we've utilized, for example, Airbnb data across with traffic data in order to identify where are the hotspots of apartments rented, for example, in Madrid. We've also used credit card transaction data to actually map the flows of people, of tourists from different countries and nationalities within the Spanish country. But also, one thing I'm going to talk today about and I'm going to focus is actually on mobile data, okay? So as you know, right now we have more than 5 billion people using a mobile phone. Everyone has a mobile phone, more than 3 million actually smartphones, and they're generating a huge amount of information. Problem is right now that cities and smart destinations are not actually leveraging that information. And there's a huge opportunity that we can actually capture through that data. Problem is that we need to have, of course, not only the skills and the experience, but also the tools to actually leverage that information. So that's also why we always talk about location intelligence and why it can bring it to context. Knowing that there could be a lot of people at a specific coordinate doesn't make a lot of sense. But I'm going to show you in a second again how we can actually make sense of information when we put it on top of other layers of data. Okay, so the big question is, again, are cities actually able to leverage this kind of information? And probably the answer is no. I mean, we've seen different surveys, and there are two main challenges. One is the lack of tools. Okay, probably the cities don't have, although the technology is there, sometimes the tools are not there, specifically because the skills are not there. Okay, we can just build a huge big data platform, but getting value out of it is actually a bit of a challenge. Okay, so one thing that we've seen is that we need to actually empower the decision makers with easy to use tools to actually drive those decisions. Okay, in this case, what we've done is actually partner with Vodafone, one of the biggest telcos out there, to actually create a very powerful and intuitive solution that we built to actually public administrations for them to actually better monitor what's going on their destinations. Okay, and they can do it actually on real time. We've been talking a lot about sustainability, and actually one of the biggest assets of this kind of service is that we can leverage on the current infrastructure, which is none. It's just the cell towers and the mobile phones. We don't need to install any cameras, any hardware. We can again just leverage the current infrastructure. So I'm gonna make you a real-time demo, okay, to show you specifically again how we can change a lot of paradigms using this kind of data. So I'm gonna log in. Okay, this is how the solution looks like. Okay, and first of all, we know that in Madrid we have, in the community of Madrid, total of 6 million inhabitants, okay? But if we actually, I'm gonna change to white, let me see. Yeah, so it's easier for everyone to see. I'm gonna zoom in. I'm gonna go back to black just in case. This is a demo effect. Okay, there you go. So we can see here we have divided the territory, the city of Madrid, and I've chosen Madrid since we're here. It's also my hometown. And we divided the territory not just in postal codes or districts, but actually in 250 to 250 meter grids, okay? So if we actually go and zoom in, for example, here, we can see like a heat map of where is actually people spending their time. One thing that we can know is that we had 7,800,000 unique visitors in Madrid. In this case, it was in the month of May, okay? So just think about the power of this kind of data. Before, again, we were leveraging on a 2011 census, okay, to take decisions, to actually know that we have 6 million people in the community of Madrid. But just in the center of Madrid, here in the district of Madrid, we have, again, 700,000-800,000 unique visitors. We can, of course, change the month and see how that changes. Actually, in April, we see that there's more people than there was in May, okay? And again, what we're having right now is a real-time census. That is something totally unprecedented. We can actually, for example, as well see the socioeconomic and demographic indicators of these people, okay? So how does it look like? So we can see the gender distribution, the age distribution as well, which is something really interesting. And we can know also their economic profile. That is something that might be relevant. And where does people come from? So we have visitors, again, not only from tourists or not just the ones out of our frontiers, okay? But actually also the people within actually the city of Madrid or other municipalities or other parts of the country. So we can see where does people come from in terms of other municipalities or other countries or also other provinces, okay? You can see it well. Do I need to zoom in or something? No? Okay. So let's, again, we see here there's a hotspot in Madrid. So let's zoom in and let's try to understand what is going on there. So yeah, we have Plaza del Sol, we have Gran Via there. No surprise, okay? So we have almost 700,000 people, unique visitors that have actually been in that 250 to 250 meter grid within the month of April 2018, okay? We can actually, once we click on it, we can actually know where people came from, okay, which is actually one of the most powerful parts. Okay, we can see again, most of them come from nearby grids, but if I zoom out, okay, as you can see, just the city center is represented on grids, but if I zoom out, I can see actually the municipalities. I can see there's a lot of people actually, as you can see, yeah, coming from Getafe, Leganés and Alcorcón. I can know exactly how many people is coming from there, which is really, really powerful as well. But I can actually zoom out and just see it even at an international level. This is using my cell phone 3G, so might not be that fast. But once it renders, we're going to see, for example, how most of the tourists come from. I think they are France, the US. So I know, again, in the month of May, we had more than 20,000 people that were just in that specific place in Madrid. Not overall in Madrid, but just in that specific point. So again, for my tourism initiatives and marketing campaigns, again, I can use this information and drive and create better initiatives, especially again to increase the loyalty of specific segments of the population. Let's go back to the city of Madrid, okay? And for example, also I can see the patterns depending on what are we looking at. We can take a look at all the week, people that was there all week, or people that came, for example, on the weekdays. Okay, so we can see a lot of commuters, people that come from different parts of the city to the center. Or we can look how in the weekend, actually, the people from inside Madrid don't travel that much. Okay, we can see also depending on the evening, time of the day, probably it might change if I go to night. But one of the interesting things as well is if I actually start to target a specific segment of the population. Eventually, I'm just interested on international tourists, on locals, on residents. It depends. So let me change the target, okay? And click on type. So I'm going to see different things here. So for example, if I actually click on, there are a lot of different complex statistical models behind all this process, okay? But basically what we want to give the cities is answers, not just, again, the bulk data, which is really hard to process. So if we actually go to, for example, sporadic national, we can see how the hot areas or actually, let me go not at night, but all day. So we can see how, again, our Gran Via, Plaza del Sol, and someone recognizes this area, Atocha. Okay, it actually tells you all the people that arrive to Atocha on a certain specific day. But let's say we go right now to, for example, sporadic international. We can see again how people is going again to the city center, to this more or less the same areas, but they actually concentrate on this area right here, which is actually Terminal 1 to 4 of Barajas. Okay, so again, you can just imagine all the potential that this data has, okay, because we can keep doing any kind of, we can again keep asking questions to the data. For example, we can see just the commuters or the residents, how there are a lot of people actually concentrated on the north part of Madrid, actually on the 4 towers as well working, and we can just keep asking questions to the data. But the most important part, again, that this is just not a one-time thing. Again, this is a real-time census that allows people to get to answers, again, continue and to monitor what's going on in their cities. Again, depending on the month, depending on the week, you can, again, aggregate the data as you want. So with this, again, I'm going to finish again. The most important part, again, is to tell you how this whole paradigm is changing, again, is shifting, and we don't need to wait, again, until the public administration actually runs another census process, okay, which will be, I think, in 2 years. Okay, but again, we can leverage, in this case, mobile data to, again, get real-time information of what's going on in our cities. So said that, that's everything from my side. I'm looking forward if you have any questions. Thanks for your time.